As any, the whiskey industry has been taken quite literally by storm on the wings of buzzing bees, which is a perfect lead into Woodford's honey barrel finished bourbon, which was just announced. And thankfully, we have bottles here in the studio. Let's dive in. It's been a while since I've had a honey finished anything. I know you were able to score a bottle too, so I'm pumped for this one, man.
Yeah, this is something that I find to be super interesting that they're doing. I mean, we've all had things like the Bellmead honey finish. Like these kind of popped up on the radar a few years back and gained a ton of popularity. I'm a very big nerd for honey. I love going to local fairs and grabbing honey from different seasons. I like to get unfiltered honey, put that on like homemade bread and toast and stuff. I really like what honey can do flavor wise. I love it in cocktails, making honey syrup and whatnot. So I feel like this is something that really could speak to me.
Yeah, whether this is a Gold Rush in a glass, that's my favorite summer cocktail, or something else entirely, let's dive in. So this is standard Woodford Reserve Bourbon. They went and took it and finished it in local Kentucky. They took, I guess, better way to put it, they took honey from a local Kentucky bee farmer and finished some of their barrels in it. They dumped the honey out. They put the bourbon in. This is bottled at their standard 45.2% ABV. It released for $60. Pretty much a distillery only, but they have to let a few bottles out by Kentucky state law to other stores. So if you saw one in a store that wasn't the distillery, let us know in the comments. I'm always super interested by that. But basically, Kentucky's flavor of a distillery only release. So what are you thinking so far, John? I see you getting into your glass there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one to get right into the glass. As you do a little talking, I do a lot of sneaking in on the whiskey. But man, right on the nose, I feel like this reminds me an awful lot of Woodford Double Oak, which is something I'm not particularly wild about, to be honest with you. Comes through a little bit dry and just a little bit punchy in the oak variety, but not like in a balanced way or not like even in a spicy way. Just kind of like a dry, slightly over oak. No, there's a little bit of like a creaminess on the nose here. And there's some kind of like, I don't think I would describe this as smelling sweet or like honey at all on the nose. I think I would give it sort of like a late summer hayfield, maybe almost a little bit of grassiness mixing in with that wood.
This is really fascinating in that, like, clearly Woodford is kind of joining up to the pack. Lots of brands have done honey releases. It's been a year or two since we've seen the first one. Most recently, I had a Nulu honey finish that was very much honey forward. Like, it tasted like honey and bourbon. It was great. If you like sweet things, it seems to me like Woodford basically was like, all right, so we can't make this whiskey too sweet because this thing is not sweet at all. It's not sweet on the nose. It's not sweet on the palate. It's almost got like a bitterness, like a sesame seed kind of note to it. It's really fascinating. Like the honey is there, but not in the same way that I've experienced in previous honey finishes whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not getting any added viscosity to this. I mean, again, this is reminding me way more of Woodford Double Oak than it is on anything with a sweeter finish. It doesn't have any of those like brighter notes that I would have thought that a wildflower honey would give it, or even like any of the richer notes that you might get in like an autumn season honey. I mean, I guess if I really dig, I could kind of catch some of that honeycomb, like the almost waxiness that you can get like with the honeycomb that you would have on the side of a charcuterie plate or something.
Sure.
I could kind of dig that out if I really look, but man, you got to work pretty hard to get the honey out of this, I feel like.
I'm with you. This actually strays interestingly enough into, if someone gave this to me blind, I don't know that I would pick up the honey in a way that I could point it out. Like I'd be like, it's a little waxy. It's kind of bitter. To me, this is actually more bitter than Double Oak. Like Double Oak is a big, sweet, kind of creamy fudge pudding of a pour. This has those Woodford notes, but there's almost more coffee. There's more bitter. It seems almost woodier. I'd be curious to know more about the barrels themselves. Like we know, yeah, they were barrels that held honey, but this is so orthogonal to any previous honey finish I've had. It's kind of refreshing, but I also can't say that I super love it either.
Yeah, I'm gonna level with you, man. I think it's a little bit too weird for me. It's just not doing it as far as the honey finish goes. I mean, Bellmead honey to me, I think is all right. It's cool. It's got I think a very fun aspect to it. This, like you said, I don't know is I would ever have guessed this blind that it were honey finished at all. I would say that this is definitely some sort of secondary maturation. That's very obvious.
Right.
It comes through, and yeah, I get that bitterness you're talking about. There's a dash more spice in there than I would have guessed I would find in this product. And kind of like I'm feeling a little bit let down as the honey lover here. Like I was waiting for the honey to kick in, and it's like if you really dig, you can pick it out, but you got to work for it, and it's not sort of present in a way that I would have guessed we'd see.
Yeah. The honey is definitely there on the finish, and even then it's just a whisper of honey. Like I feel
Yeah.
like poor bees, they put all this effort in the honey, and this is kind of what we
Seriously.
got. And
Yeah,
I mean,
man, a bit of a letdown.
once you consider the price too, so we said that this was $59.99, but what I think I failed to mention was that it was $59.99 for a half bottle of 375 milliliters. This is effectively, for those of you who complain that things like Nulu Honey Finish are too expensive at $120, like this is that product in a half bottle, and it's not even a barrel proof. So I think I'm confident to say, let's give this one another go, Woodford. It's a cool concept. I think there's so many brands that could nail this concept, and that not enough people have tried. Like some people have gone too sweet, some people I think have done well. I'd love to see more of the heritage brands give the honey finish a crack, especially because so many of them are into sustainability. They work with farmers, they work with people in botanists and people who are very, experienced with the environment and ecosystems. But the first pass I think is kind of a whiff for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's not something that I think I'd be excited to buy another bottle of at this point. I would love to try it if there was another iteration, of course, but this as is, I feel like is a one and done on the John front here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you there. One final thought for you before we close this guy out. With this, sometimes when something misses, I always think to myself like, all right, let's try this in a cocktail. And maybe I'm just like drawing a blank here, but I'm kind of thinking like, what would I put this in? Like, it's not sweet enough to replace the sugar of anything, but I don't know that this would work well with an old fashioned because it's kind of bitter to begin with. Would you put this in any specific cocktail?
I mean, if you really were trying to highlight the honey, I think you could do something like a Gold Rush or a Kentucky Corpse Survivor. I think there's a way that you could probably make this work in a cocktail for sure. I mean, it's not bad whiskey. It's just that it doesn't quite do what I thought it was supposed to do, which to me kind of seems like a little bit of a swing and a miss.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say a Gold Rush, perhaps. I mean, it could maybe do in a Manhattan, depending on how you spice it up with what type of bitters you want to use, or if you're going to use the sweeter vermouth to sort of pick it up a little bit. But I think maybe Gold Rush is about it.
Okay, well, Gold Rush with the Woodford Reserve Honey. It is, guys. If you tried this bottle, if you hung out in line to pick it up, I know these things are pretty hyped at the distillery. We would love to hear from you. Drop us a comment, a review, or send us an email. I'm curious if maybe John and I are out on a honey-infested island with this one. But yeah, I agree with you. I'll give this a go in a couple cocktails. Maybe we'll post it to Instagram or something. Give it a go. But overall, hopefully Honey V2 is on the horizon because I think there's still work to be done here.